Big thanks to Jess. Let's welcome to the stage the CEO of Next Level Sports. Lance Smith is here to discuss the business of participation in conversation with League App's own Jeremy Goldberg. Let's hear it, guys. Woo-hoo! Ow, ow, ow!
Very excited. Lance, welcome to the stage, my friend.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Next Level Sports. Maybe the first thing is your path to youth sports did not necessarily come the traditional way. Just share a few seconds about your background and how you got to be in this room right now.
Yeah, thank you. First, I actually have to go back because this is the first time that Jeremy and I have been on stage since maybe around 2016 at the Bo Jackson Center in Columbus, Ohio.
That's
so
right.
It's been a long time coming. But my background, I have a background in some of the technology. I've raised venture capital twice for two startups. I live out in California. I live out in Silicon Valley. So a lot of my background has been on the business operations side, both with a marketing company and then moved into a few other entities. I won't get too much into that. But there is a history with that. I think along the way, 20 years of experience of doing core business operations, email marketing, building out a consumer brand, and then building pieces of technology along the way has really enabled a lot of what Next Level has come and become. So there's a ton of infusion into all of that experience that I've brought along the way. I get to do it now in the playground and within the sandlot of what we have as Next Level Sports. So hearing a lot about the finance stuff, hearing a lot about operational challenges and talking about brand and talking about those things is like paramount for me, along with integration with software and what you guys do with League Apps and the like. So.
Well, that's awesome. And one thing I think if we talk about Next Level Sports, like give us a sense, because one thing I bet is you're going to be blown away when you see the kind of reach and scale that Lance and his team has created. So what do we need to know about Next Level Sports? Like, what empire have you created here?
Yeah. So we started out in 2012 by creating a community-based flag football program in our city, in our township of San Mateo, California. So San Mateo is located about 15 minutes south of the San Francisco airport. For those of you familiar, at that time, the state of football in general, there was a peak concussion time. We also had this migration effect of a lot of people from the East Coast in finance and whatnot moving out to the West Coast and bringing lacrosse. Lacrosse became a big proliferation out in the Bay. It still is. Oddly, I played club lacrosse in college for a couple years, but on the West Coast. The ball was always on the ground. For you lacrosse people in the room, ball was always on the ground. It was a bunch of ex-football players. We just like to hit each other. And then we would go drink beer like rugby guys do after the game. So what we felt this experience of like, here comes lacrosse. It's coming in for the youth in the community around the Bay Area. Football's dying. It was dropping by about 5 to 7% a year. I think even at that point, you're from Texas, right? You're from Dallas. Again, you go back to 2012, 13. That was the first time that there was a drop in the participation rate of football, tackle football largely, in the state of Texas. I think it dropped by like 1% or 2%. And there's 3 strongholds across the country, right, for football: Texas, Florida, California. And so when you're starting to see a drastic decline in participation elements in those states, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the ecosystem. There's something wrong with how we're going about it, okay? So we start this little flag football program. We have 300 kids that come out from the community. They're from local schools. We put them on teams together. They compete. We kind of formulaically kind of have some things together, not everything together. And so we only ran this, I don't know, do we have any wine drinkers in the room? I mean, come on, we're more than 4 people drink wine. Liars.
Could be a beer crowd.
Yeah, okay, it's beer crowd. Okay, well, beer crowd. So I put the analogy to we're a Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir, you harvest once a year, you put it in a barrel. After the year's over, you can reharvest another barrel of Pinot Noir. So we're like Pinot Noir. We had one season at that time. We ran our winter flag football program from March to January. I'm sorry, for January to March. So 3 months, 10 weeks, 10 Sundays actually. So in that first season, we had 300 participants. The next Pinot Noir cycle, we had 700 with 300 on our waiting list. And you're kind of like, wow. Now, this wasn't a business, okay? So for all of you that are out there saying, hey, like, where's my business stand right now? What's my revenue? This was just like a community thing that we threw together. Being the entrepreneur that I am, I kind of looked at this after year 3 when we went from 700 participants to 1,700. I'm like, there might be something here. And taking all that prowess of my background and some people around, all right, we'll dedicate a little bit more time to this. And so 1,700 became 3,400, 3,400 became something a lot more. And now we operate in 25 states, and we have somewhere in the magnitude of 90,000 participants, and we're growing at 25 plus per year. It might
Wait, hold on,
be.
just let's sit there. You're growing by 25% per year at 90,000 participants.
It's getting
First of all,
hard.
round of applause. That's pretty impressive to be able to get to that stage. So you built this program at incredible scale. And one thing I think is really interesting, and maybe one of the intention here, is the opportunity in recreational, competitive rec, whatever it may be. Like, that's a space that people don't spend a lot of time talking about. There's a lot of focus on elite or competitive, and yet you're actually driving a lot of sports for the masses at more of a recreational level. So talk about why you chose that as the opportunity, and what opportunity do you see in that part of the market?
Yeah, no, a great question. Why did I choose it, or did it choose me? Perhaps it chose me. And I think it's kind of happenstance, right? I mean, I see a couple young guys here in the room, and I had a young son at the time who was also growing up, becoming a little bit older, playing club soccer for the likes of a lot of you in the room. So we had this exposure point to what club sports was, especially as a father with young kids. And I think what I've had this big hankering is, like, as I grew up, club sports, I was kind of the impetus in, like, the first wave of club sports. And I'm much older than most, or some here, sorry, I date myself. But seeing it through the lens of a dad, I'm like, wow, there's all this responsibility that I have to get my kids to a club, or get them to an event, get them somewhere. I have to drive, for those of you in California, I have to drive an hour and a half. I have to drive 2 hours to go and play a game that's going to last 45 minutes to an hour. And again, we talk about playing time. Maybe they play for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or whatever it is, and then we got to jump in the car, we got to haul ass back, and you're sitting in traffic. Nobody really likes that as an experience, right? So I think that was a big part of it for us is, hey, how can we create the best experience possible, but do it in our community so that you don't have to leave, so that mom and dad, as I'm looking at Brian's family over here, I've not met his wife, but I hope to afterwards, but I look at the family dynamic and I say, hey, you're going to wake up on Sunday morning, you're going to go to Trader Joe's, Brian gets to go to Trader Joe's, the boys get to do laundry real quick, mom gets to chill out and hang out, because she always gets to do that, and then they're going to go play flag football, or they're going to do something for 2 hours of the day, okay? And they know exactly which 2 hours of the day it's going to be, and it's going to stay the same every damn week, okay? We're not going to change their schedule. We're not going to tell them that they're at some other field. We're going to make it the same place, because when they're done, after they're there for 4 hours, because they have 2 boys, they're going to go get brunch, and then they're going to go hang out as a family. And so from an experience standpoint, what does that look like for that family relative for the family that's got to get in the car and drive or fly to wherever they're supposed to go? Right? These are very, very simple building blocks of what Next Level is and what we've done to really extrapolate and to build out our programming to get to 90,000 kids. There's also 90,000 sets of parents at least contained with that, and that is a challenge, right? And there's grandparents and other things.
So final leg of this thing. So you focus on this and you recognize, wait, if you think about the customer, what if you're delivering experience? And I don't know if is Mike Gilligan in the room from Penn Athletics Club? I don't know if Mike is here. If he is. So Mike, he has 9,000 kids in the Bucks County area. We coach flag football. Then we go to lunch at Caleb's in Bucks County. It's great. Like, it's a tradition. It's super fun. I can relate to what you're saying about what differentiates you. Because building an organization at this scale, maybe just briefly just speak about what have you done that's really unique about that recreational experience so that it's different, it's better than maybe what's been there, because that's another part of the story. Final part of the story.
Absolutely. Besides, I mean, it is focusing on the experience, right? And I think I could sit up here, I'd love to talk about, for an hour, I'd love to talk about the differentiation of the experience. But it is focusing in on what that experience is, not only for the participants, which we hold at the highest regard, but also for their families, right? And so that's a lot of things. Personalized jerseys. I got a hankering for this, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, that I'm like, well, we live in an Amazon society, and that Amazon delivers packages readily to your home. So I'm going to be the first one to deliver their uniform directly to their doorstep. And it's also going to be personalized. It's going to have their name and their number on the back of every jersey. So I don't know how many of you guys procure jerseys out there, probably most of you, or you have a partner that does it. For like a soccer club or volleyball club, do you let your participants try on jerseys? Do you bring it to the field, or do you send them to a brick and mortar? Do you bring them brick and mortar, or do you bring your uniforms to the field? One way you can improve that experience is take the jersey to them. Don't expect them to drive to a store to go try it on, right? Bring it to them. Bring everything and bring that experience directly to the family. Because, by the way, they're the ones swiping the credit card, right? And so I'm getting a little bit off the question a little bit, but we think about those things. We think about all those types of experiences, and how it can enable the family and that family dynamic. Another part of this is on the coaching staff, which is I think maybe what you're driving at. I'll try to slow down here. We employ 6,000 currently, 6,000 high school and college student athletes across our programming. 6,000. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to pay them. It's really hard to get a social security number from a 16-year-old. So there are painstaking problems with being at this scale. Why do we employ high school and college student athletes? Well, we believe in mentorship, right? We believe in young kids participating and looking up to people in their community or the kids in their community. So at our Next Level flag football locations or our Next Level basketball locations, we have a high school student athlete or a college student athlete that is a mentor coach for each one of the teams within our programs. No exception. Okay, and then the parent, dad, mom, they are the parent volunteer coach, but they are diminished down. We call them the general managers of the team, and the high school student athlete is the head coach of the team. And there's unequivocal, that's how it goes. And we support that, and we stand behind it, and we enable that. So,
I love that. And one thing I'll just say, maybe way of conclusion, is like when there's these obstacles, how do you operate at scale? I have a lot of questions about volunteer coaches, even as a volunteer coach myself. I run a great defense. At the same time, like what's the way
do you need an OC? I'm a pretty good OC.
There you go. But what I just want to commend Lance for, and what I want to encourage, and maybe the idea of highlighting this, is there's not as much attention often on this type of the market. Ironically, if you look at where a lot of the private equity dollars have gone in youth sports, it's at the recreational franchise model. And I was inspired by a book years ago, which is why I so liked what you did. A professor by the name of Pravalad, who I think was at University of Pennsylvania in Michigan, who wrote a book about the billion at the bottom of the pyramid. And the whole idea is that people think about often the money at the top of the pyramid, but there's a lot of resources you can make at the bottom of the pyramid, and what's the opportunity to think about that? So I just want to commend you. 90,000 kids being impacted by your experiences and growing. And if anyone wants to learn more about Lance's secret, I encourage you, everyone, to come up and see him. Thanks for inspiring us, Lance.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. That's awesome.